we've got all my favorite people in the room, Natalie.
Nice. I like that. I have to lift up my glasses to see all the little names here.
And they're from all over, Australia and now New Zealand. Danielle's joining from New Zealand. She's just coming in now. I think for the US and Canadian people, the timing's wrong. So I think they'll be watching on video. It's like the wee hours of the morning for most of them, I think.
It is. It's depending on where you live. They're either 8 or 5 hours behind where I'm sitting.
Yeah. So Natalie's joining us from Normandy in France, which sounds quite beautiful, even though we can't see outside.
It is very pretty here. It is very pretty here. So.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, ça va? C'est gentil.
I'm afraid you've exhausted my French.
That's it. That's as far as we go. Okay. Well, yep. Hello counts. Hello counts. All right. Well, it is a minute past the hour. So Samantha, I will let you open up your meeting and we'll get started.
Well, I am delighted that Natalie's agreed to join us tonight for an hour. In an hour, she can only tell us so much, and she has so much, amazing quality and quantity, qualitative quantity. That doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean. She's got some great stuff to share. I met Natalie through one of her other initiatives, We'll Work for Food, which is a really great, almost like an online lecture series, and people pay to attend the lectures by donating to food banks. It's a really great initiative. But she also specialises in marketing, mediation and legal practices, conflict management related practices. And that's why I've asked her to come along today, because all of you guys keep asking me questions about how do I set up a new practice? How do I market? And I thought, rather than me giving you sort of vague advice based on what worked and didn't work for me, we talk to someone who's an expert in the area. So Natalie, I know, is going to talk about, I think, some of the main principles, and then some of them, I think it's the 5 main activities that you need to engage in, at least to get started. But I know she's got a whole lot of other information and resources available if you're interested in following up further. So I'll hand over to you, Natalie. Are you going to pin your video, or how do you want to manage the... No?
If you want to...
I can spotlight you like this.
There we go. That works just fine. So Samantha's right. This is what I've done for, oh gosh, it pains me to say, 27 years. This is what I do all day, every day, is help mediators and arbitrators all over the world to design and build and promote the practice that they want to have. And it's a lot of fun. I really, really love our industry, and I love the job that I get to do, the people that I get to partner with. It's the best job on the planet. It really, truly is. And I'm going to talk really quickly. And I know that I speak quickly, and I apologize for that in advance, but there's a lot to cover. I'm going to try to cover essentially the top bits of what is normally an 8-hour seminar during the course of this 1 hour of our time together. But because I talk quickly, I understand that at the end of this hour, if you can't read your notes, or you don't understand what I've said, or you've got further questions, please feel free to find me on LinkedIn, send me a message, send me an email, ask me your question, ask me to reframe it, rephrase it, clarify it, whatever the issue is, just let me know, all right? And of course, I'll always try to leave a little bit of time. If there's something while I'm talking that really you need to have an answer for right away, please feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt me. I'm not yet so old that I can't get back to the place that I was if you interrupt me. So feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt. So Samantha's right. There are 5 basic activities in building our practice, but I want to go back just one step prior to those activities and talk about the foundational pieces that have to be laid before you can actually become an active promoter or marketer of your own business. And the foundation pieces that are required by us, for us, from us, are not that difficult. One, you absolutely positively must have a website. It's not an option. In the same way that you would have business cards, or in the same way that in the 80s we all had trifold brochures on the coffee table in our front lobby, you now must have a private website. It's just not an option. And it doesn't have to be anything enormous, it can be what is called a microsite. And a microsite is 2, 3, maybe 4 pages of information or resources that is primarily about the consumer, but is also essentially an online version of your bio, resume, and CV. This is just a microsite. And if you can use a smartphone, you can build your own website. You can go on to, for example, Squarespace. And if you want a discount for Squarespace, send me a message and I'll give you the promo code that they've provided me to use for my clients. I'm happy to share that always. But you can use a Squarespace site or Wix. Pretty much any of those will work for you. But if, like I said, if you can use a smartphone, you can build your own website. Of course, if you need help, let me know. But that really is all that is necessary for a website. A little bit about your clients, a little bit about you, a little bit about the kinds of cases you hear, and a little bit about the process that you provide. Now, some of you will have really sophisticated consumers. We don't need to explain to them what mediation is or arbitration is or what is a discovery referee or, you know, a parenting coordinator. We don't have to describe those things. They know who we are. They know what we do. They know how we do it. So you have to figure out for yourself what kind of language you need to have for your website. All right. If you have unrepresented clients, that's going to be a little bit different. Unrepresented clients probably need a better description of who we are, what we do, and how we do it. All right. So think about who your primary, secondary, or even tertiary target market is, and you design everything for them. If your clients are elderly, make sure that the fonts are bigger. Make sure that you have video for them to play a video so that they can hear. Maybe they're hearing impaired. Maybe you need to have subtitles or closed captioning on things. So it really depends on who your folks are, and that's how you design your pieces. So you have to have a website. The other thing that you need to have is a database. And a database, I know it sounds like a scary word, but it's really not. A database is a list in any format that you're comfortable with. It can be on recipe cards in a shoebox. It can be sticky notes on the wall behind your desk. It can be an Excel spreadsheet. It can be an Outlook or Google. It's however you want to compile your information. And your database, you basically want to split it up into 3 sections. And the first section is going to be a list of all of those people that you know. These are the folks that you could call and say, hi, this is Anthony. And the person on the other end would say, hey, Anthony, how you been? Haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for calling. What's up? What's new? Right? That's the first list. The second list are the list of people that you'd really like to know, right? So this is going to be your primary, maybe even a secondary target market. So these are the folks that belong to, for example, the association or organization that represents your primary target market. So a bar association, for example, or the accountants group or whatever it is, right? Those are the people you'd want to know. Now, the third group is important. And the third group is going to be the list of all of those organizations and associations to which your primary, secondary, or tertiary target market individuals belong. And the reason is because we want to know where our people congregate. Where do they go? When they get together as a collective, we want to be there too. That's how we're going to market and promote ourselves. So you make the list of all of those bar associations or hairdresser associations and organizations or accountants or school nurses or whomever it is, right? Those organizations and associations are going to be really important for future. And as you're comprising that list of associations and organizations, I want you to note, however you choose to note it, note whether or not they have some sort of periodical or newsletter or email blast. Do they have a speakers bureau, right? When they get together to do their networking, how do they do that? Where do they do that? Who's in charge of that? Because the next things that we do are all of those activities. So make a note of each of those associations and organizations, you know, where do they go? Then as you're looking at them, you'll want to see which of them you want to join and participate in. Don't just join it to have your name on the membership list. You have to actually participate in them, or it's not really worth the investment, right? So think about those that you want to participate in. And if you're not sure, the easiest thing to do is to call their membership director and say, I'm thinking about joining this organization, but I'd like to attend one of your networking events to see if it really is a good fit, me with you, right? And for most of the organizations and associations, they'll say, absolutely. And you pay the $20 to, to join them for the dinner and see if it really truly is comprised of your people, of your primary, secondary, or tertiary target market. So try it on for size, see if it's right. So you've got these lists, you've got your database. The next thing that you want to do is think about in advance what it is you want to do with your practice at the end. And I know it seems a little strange to start at the end, but that's generally how we do it. We start at the end and then we reverse engineer all of the things necessary to get us to that goal, right? So at the end of your practice, what do you want to do with it? Do you want to just close the doors and say, gosh, thanks everybody, it was fantastic, loved having you in my life for that amount of time, turn off the lights, you shred your files, and you're just done mediating or arbitrating? Or are you wanting to build an entity that when you're finished with it, you would then like to sell? You have a book of business and you want to harvest that. You want to sell that to another neutral. That's a possibility. So think about how you want to end this business, and then we reverse engineer it back to today. So I'll tell you now, you don't have to, it's not going to be written in stone. When you make that choice, it isn't that you choose one and then you can't change your mind ever, 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 ever. You can absolutely change your mind, but it's a lot easier to have sort of that goal in mind when we're going through these next lists of activities. So if you're building an entity, you're going to market and promote an entity. If you're going to build your practice, then it is Samantha Hardy, mediator. And that's what we're marketing and promoting is Samantha, right? It's not an entity, it's a person. And so the language changes a little bit, and sometimes the personality can change a little bit. So the branding can change a little bit, depending upon whether or not you're promoting an entity or a person. Absolutely your choice. And again, there's no harm, no foul in you choosing one and then letting your practice evolve and you change it to be something else, all right? So you've got your website, you've got your database, and you have some idea about what it is that you're going to put out there. Now you also know, all of you know, who your primary target market is. You know what, I just said that, and I'm going to take it back. You might not know who your primary target market is. You might be wondering, I'm brand new at this, and who do I talk to? Where do I go? I always recommend playing to your strong suit first and try it on for size. So let's say, for example, that Samantha has been a real estate broker and agent for 20 years. And she's not an attorney, but she knows real estate like nobody else. So her primary target market are going to be other real estate brokers, property buyers, REITs, all different kinds of real estate entities on both ends of the buy-sell spectrum. She could focus just on residential. She could look at industrial. She could look at commercial. She has lots of different choices. She could be just specifically maritime, wharf, port, right? So she has lots of different choices in that arena. But if that's her background, those are her people. She speaks that language. She understands that culture. That's her group, right? So that's probably her primary target market. Now, a secondary target market, if your background is in real estate, might be mortgage brokers, bankers, that group. Interior designers might be a source of referral. So you have to think about the entire food chain as it applies to that specific industry or those specific kinds of cases. So if you want to hear unrepresented family and divorce, for example, you might want to make friends with all the hairdressers in your neighborhood because they're going to be excellent sources of referral for you, right? Same with school counselors, pediatricians, accountants. If I were getting a divorce, the first person I call is my accountant because I want to know how much money I'm talking about. I want to know what the properties are, what the pension plans look like, what does our investment portfolio look like, because my lawyer is going to ask me for that information when I get there, right? So think about all of the people that are involved in that circle. Once you've got that kind of figured out, then you can have a better understanding of what they most want from you. right? What do they want? What is their primary concern? Is it that they're up all night chewing on antacids because they can't sleep because this thing has caused them so much stress? Is it that they have mental health issues? Is it that it's too expensive? Is it that it just takes too long and they're just tired of the damn thing? What is bothersome to them? What is an issue with them? If you're dealing with attorneys, is it client management? Is it issues of confidentiality? Is it issues of access to justice? What is it that is most bothersome, most painful, most inconvenient? What's the pain point for your clients? And you can kind of, in a broad way, generalize what this is. And I know profiling has kind of become a naughty word in the aughts. It sort of fell out of favor, but you do essentially want to profile your primary, secondary, tertiary target market clients so that you can understand not just the demographic of them, but the psychographic of them, right? Because the psychographic of them will now dictate how we communicate with them subsequent. So if your clients, like I said, if they have mental health issues, you might want to be co-mediating with a mental health expert, right? So those are the kinds of things that we want to think about. Now, let's talk about these 5 really key activities that we use as neutrals. I'm not suggesting you do all of them. That would be extraordinary. That would be a big ask. And not everyone is going to like or have the skill set to do all of these. So again, we'll go through all of them and then you pick and choose your strong suit. You pick and choose what's really a comfort zone for you, what's in your wheelhouse. And if you tell me at the end of this conference call that none of those things are interesting to you at all, I'm going to suggest that you join a panel and let somebody else handle your marketing and your promotion. To do this requires a sense of entrepreneurship, right? So regardless of specialty, continent, language, or culture, the one common denominator amongst all my most successful clients is that they are first and foremost a business person. They are first and foremost an entrepreneur. They happen to offer mediation, arbitration, or dispute resolution services. And it's a difference in mindset. Business people read business books, entrepreneurship books. They go to marketing seminars. They go to marketing classes. They listen to those podcasts. They're watching those videos. It's the difference of a mindset. And so if none of these things that we talk about today spark anything in you, then you need to outsource all of these kinds of activities to someone else. And that's okay. If at the end of the hour you think, oh yeah, none of that, Natalie, none of that is good. None of that works for me. That's okay. But you can't ignore it and just hope that the telephone will ring. That never happens. That just doesn't happen. Miracles just, yeah, they're so few and far between. You don't want to bank on those. So let's talk about the things though that do work, since we can't wait for a miracle. And the 5 basic things that we're going to concentrate on are writing, speaking, training, networking, and then when all 4 of those things come home at night, they live on social media. So it's writing, speaking, training, networking, and social media, right? And then we're just going to, for fun, we're going to talk a little bit about some guerrilla marketing because I think it's a blast. But writing, speaking, training, networking, and social media. So writing is important because it essentially establishes you as a credible authority on some topic, right? The same for speaking, the same for training. And what people are looking for from all of our marketing activities is the reinforced idea that we're the right person, that they can trust us. And that's really what we're promoting during all of these activities, is the idea that we're a credible authority on this particular topic and people can trust us with their cases. They can trust us with their clients. They can trust us with their fears and their concerns and their issues, whatever those may be. They can trust us. So when we're writing, speaking, training, networking, when we're doing all of these, even on social media, we're reinforcing that idea that we're professionals, we know what we're doing, and people can trust us with their cases. So in writing, what we're generally writing to encourage that sense of trust is an opinion piece. This is an essay. This is not a white paper. Of course, you can cite law if you're inclined to, but it really is an essay piece, generally less than 2,000 words. And it's your experience. And in all of your writing, unless you're specifically talking about case law and you're laying out the points of a case. So if you're writing a brief, that's different. But if you're just writing for an association or an organization's members to read and get to know you a bit, or if you're writing to have a blog on your website, or if you're writing to put an article on LinkedIn, or if you're writing to create that evergreen asset that we all need to have, then you're creating an opinion piece, an essay piece. And when we do that, the way that we want to do it to create the most traction behind that is to write it in story form. And if you go to my LinkedIn or if you go to my website, I've written out the 7 steps necessary to tell a good story. And when we tell good stories, it creates a chemical response in the reader's brain that encourages them to trust us. And that's what we're looking for. So in any article that you write, think about the story that you're telling, the protagonist, the antagonist, what can't they get? Why can't they get it? How did you step in? How did you fix it? What happens if you don't fix it? What happens if you do fix it? And then in the end, what ultimately happened, right? So you want to sort of follow that kind of outline in storytelling and write your article. Now your article, like I said, it goes on your website. It can go up as either a media piece or as a blog. It can go on all of your social media accounts, on LinkedIn as a newsletter if you'd like. It can go, lots of different places, but then you have this evergreen piece. You can email it directly to your database, and you want to submit it to that 3rd column on your database, all of those associations and organizations, so that it can then be published directly for your primary, secondary, or tertiary target market, so that it has an evergreen presence as an asset, but you're using it as leverage. And you can sort of upcycle or reuse an article once every 3-4 months. So you don't have to just write it and then let it sit there. You can post it, again and again. You can reimagine it. You can repost it. You can reuse it time after time. So that's writing. If you're not a great writer, but you think that writing is going to be really important for your potential clients to give you the attention that you seek, then co-author with someone. Partner with someone, or hire a ghostwriter to get that done. But writing is a really great way to get your information in front of other people. So that's writing. Speaking, and I don't log off, please don't click off when I say we should be, speaking publicly. I know that makes palms go sweaty, heart rates go up. I can see your faces, the color drains from them. If public speaking is not for you, I understand it. I really do. I know that it ranks really high on the fear scale. I get it. If though public speaking is something that is possible for you, I'm going to highly encourage you to speak publicly. And there's a really good reason for it. So speaking publicly is one of my favorite activities. Now, I happen to enjoy it. It suits me. I'm an introvert, cleverly disguised as an extrovert. And so speaking publicly fits my comfort zone. I like speaking publicly. This format on Zoom with all the little squares is by far the most difficult. I can't hear sounds from the audience. I can't see your faces. You're little tiny, and I can't focus on each individual face. I can't hear, are you laughing at my jokes or are they falling flat? I'm not getting the feedback from an audience in this format that I normally would if I were standing behind a podium. I can't see if your eyebrows are knit together, questioning what I've just said, or maybe you don't like what I've just said. I can't see those facial expressions and I can't hear you. So this format is not where you want to start. Trust me. You want to start in front of real live people and go that route and really get good at your craft. But speaking publicly, 1, it's fun, but 2, from a business person's perspective, which is how we all identify now, right? We're all business people. From a business person's perspective, speaking publicly is one of the best returns on your investment. And here's why. Let's imagine that Peter goes to the local hotel ballroom and 100 of his primary target market potential clients are sitting in that room. And Peter delivers this fantastic speech. And it's not a promotional speech. This is not an infomercial. This is something that is of value to the listener. It's a benefit to them to listen. There's something actionable in it. There's something that's just for them. He's not saying, you know, with a big neon sign, my name's Peter and you should hire me as your next neutral. That's not what this is about. This is Peter being an authentically credible and authoritative voice on a particular topic matter. And he's standing behind the podium. He's got 100 of his potential clients in front of him. Now, in marketing, it's the same as in mediation. We have to, as marketers, say the right thing at the right time to the right person. Same as in mediation. You have to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. It's otherwise the wrong answer, right? So marketing has that same vein to it. We have to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. Now, Peter's standing behind the podium. He's just delivered a fantastic speech to 100 of his potential clients. 90 of them are going to applaud, say, thank you, fantastic speech. And then they're going to go back out into the lobby and back out to the buffet and continue the conference. 10 of those potential clients, though, will have self-identified as being the person to whom he has said the right thing at the right time. And those 10 people approach the podium and say, Peter, I'd like to learn more. Have you got a time for a coffee? Can we exchange business cards? Let's get together. Can I have your email address? Now, because they have pre-qualified themselves, he only now, as a business person, focuses his time, his effort, and his money on those 10 people who are most likely to hire him as the mediator. And he's not, it isn't a matter that, it isn't that he's wasting time with the other 90, it's just that he can better focus his time on the 10 who have pre-qualified themselves as most likely to write him a check. And that's why public speaking is such a powerful format. What you want to do, though, when you're speaking publicly is make sure that you're a good public speaker. So if this is a format that you think you want to pursue and you're not really confident yet, you can join Toastmasters. You can join associations and organizations that will help you be a better public speaker. Because the one thing you don't want to do is get up behind the podium and fumble the ball and lose any credibility you could have built for yourself. So if you're a good public speaker or you want to become a good public speaker, this is a great way for you to build your business. Again, as a business person, the ROI is tremendous. It also builds credibility and authority. And if you can record it like Samantha is doing for us today, then you have an evergreen asset. And again, you want to post that video on your website. You want to post that video on your YouTube channel. You want to post that video on your social media. You want to use this video. And again, that third column of your database, those associations and organizations, that list that you've made, when somebody wants to consider you as a speaker for their association or an organization, you can send them a video clip or you can send them the video in its entirety and say, here's an example of me speaking publicly. If this is interesting or appropriate, then let me know. And I'd be happy to speak to your group as well, or I can change the subject matter, but this is what I look like behind a microphone, so that they can get a sense of you, right? So that's public speaking. So we've covered writing, speaking. Let's talk about training. When I mention training, generally the answer is, Natalie, that's, did you take a marijuana? That we don't do that. Why would I want to train up my competition? That's craziness. You've lost your ever-loving mind. You've been in France way too long, too many galois, too many glasses of wine, you're nuts. Here's why training is really good though. Training, when you're training someone, you're not necessarily training them to be a mediator, right? The trainings that we do are trainings that help people capitalize on some of the skills that we use or the processes that we use. So it might be that you go into a law firm and you talk to attorneys and you talk about the value of clear, brief communication, right, between senior partners and associates, and how that lessens rates of attrition, how that increases morale, and all of these kinds of things. You can talk to them about the verbal judo that we use with parties to use their energy and their momentum to get them where they need ultimately to be for their own good, right? You can talk about all of those kinds of things. You could talk about how we facilitate conversations. You can talk about how do we choose when to put the parties together, and how do we know intuitively, how do we know when they need to be separated? How do we use apologies in our industry? How do we use silence in our communications? You can talk about all of those kinds of things. And these are things that all humans can put into practice to be better neighbors, better spouses, better congregants, better employees, better bosses. So you think about all of the things that we do as neutrals that you could share and encourage other people to use in their workplace, in their homes, in their environment. That's the kind of training that you put forward. And the reason that training is powerful is because when those folks come up against an issue or a conflict or a dispute, the first person they're going to think of to help them through that is you, the instructor. You become the go-to person, right? And so that's why training is so important. Not only does it do good, not only does it help people, not only are you giving them really valuable skill sets or ideas or whatever your training provides, but you also can grow your business based on that. So you can go to the Chamber of Commerce, you can do lots of different trainings. Again, go back to that third column of your database and all of those associations and organizations and reach out. Let them know that you're available to give a brown bag lunch training. You're available to come in and help them facilitate that meeting. You're available to sit on their board of directors and help move those meetings forward in an effective, efficient way, right? Training is really powerful. So we've covered writing, speaking, training. Oh, I forgot to tell you, training, again, don't forget to put your training on your website, put your training up on social media, have a recording of your training, be really generous with your, I can't even think of a different word, your party favors, your handouts, the support materials that you have for your training. Be sure that everybody gets a copy. Be sure that it's free, right? The goal here is to help everybody be involved. Everybody should be educated. Everybody should be on board, right? So you want to be generous with those things. And again, it always lives on social media. So writing, speaking, training, networking. If you don't want to do the other bits, you don't want to write, you don't want to speak, you don't want to train, that's okay. You can really make up for those first three, if they're not appealing to you, in networking. And there are possibly thousands and thousands of books about how to be a good networker. But networking is one of the primary ways that we build our business. And again, the reason is because people need to know us. They need to like us. I can only think of a handful, and I mean a slight handful of people globally who've been able to build their practice with the brand of them being a jerk. That's just not how we do it, right? We have to be nice. We have to be generous. We have to be credible authorities. We have to be good service providers. People need to like us. If we're asking them to get locked in a room with us for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 hours, multiple days, they need to like us. So they first have to know us. They have to like what they know about us. And then again, most importantly, they have to trust us. Before they're going to hand us their credit card, they have to trust us. And networking allows for us to build that interpersonal business rapport with people in such a way that they feel confident that they can trust us with their case or with their clients or with their business or their marriage or whatever the situation might be. So they like us, they know us, they trust us. And that really is built up through networking. And again, networking, I know it's not for everybody. It's for some of us as painful as going to a singles bar. And, you know, the fear of rejection, you hold out your hand to a stranger and they say, oh, pass. Then you go to the next person to hold out your hand to another stranger and they go, oh, pass. And that makes a lot of us nervous, but that's not really what networking is. So let me explain the difference between that scenario, the sort of singles bar scenario, and what business networking is. And some of you naturally are really good at this, and for some of us, it's really, really painful. So networking, just think about the word. That's the easiest thing to do. It's networking. It's not net sitting. It's not net dancing. It's not net eating. It's networking. And as business people, we're goal oriented. So before you go to any networking event, you need to sit down and think about why you want to go to this event. If you can't think of a good reason to go, don't. You know, we're all hourly paid consultants. We've all capped our own salaries, essentially. So your time is really valuable. And if you can't think of a reason to go to the thing, don't go. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And nobody needs more bad chicken. So think about why you want to go and actually write it down, or fingers to, the keyboard, type it out. Why do you want to go? And it could be for any number of reasons. You want to meet 10 new people. You want to find out who publishes the newsletter so that you can get your article published, or who runs the speakers bureau so that you can be this public speaker, or how can you be the person who does their training. It could be that you want to sit on their board of directors, and how can you get nominated for that position? It could be any number of things, but really think about why you want to go. And again, honestly, write it down or type it out. Keep it in your coat pocket, and then go with that goal in mind. Be a goal-oriented person. And networking, I know it's not, again, it can be difficult, but it really is, it doesn't have to be. And I have taken clients to networking events sort of as their +1 to show them how to network. It's a lot of fun if you let it be. Networking is not personal. It's a business. It's a business relationship. So don't take it personally, but you go with your list in mind, and you start checking that off. If you're not comfortable networking, in every association, in every organization, in every room, there is somebody that is a social butterfly. I promise you, there's always that one person in the room who knows everybody else, what kind of car they drive, where their kids go to school. There's that one person in every party, in every group, in every conference. Find that person and say to them, so let's say that that's Samantha. And I say, Samantha, can you introduce me to Peter, who runs the speakers bureau for the organization? She's going to take me by the elbow and walk me across the room and make that introduction for me. And that's a lot easier than me just approaching and saying, hi, my name is Natalie. That feels a little bit weird, doesn't it? But if somebody else makes the introduction, that's a lot easier. You can set up those introductions in advance. So if there's somebody you want to meet, call the person that you know and say, hey, do you happen to know Samantha? I'd really like to meet her. When we get there tonight, would you mind, making that introduction for me? And Samantha will say, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Yeah, follow me. So you can set up those introductions in advance. You can also send an email to a stranger or a DM to a stranger and say, hi, I'm a member of the association. I hope you'll be at the networking event tonight. I'd really like to introduce myself to you. I'm super interested in how you put together your training programs, right? So you can sort of prime that networking pump in advance and get much better results, and make it much more fun. It doesn't have to be a painful thing. It can really be fun. So you've got your list in advance, you go, you talk to people, and you don't necessarily have to talk about mediation or arbitration or ADR in any way, shape, or form. Everyone's favorite topic is themselves. So if you're uncomfortable saying, hi, I'm a mediator and you should use mediation, and mediation is the key to solve all of your problems, and mediation is the way, if that kind of conversation is uncomfortable for you, and it probably should be, then that's all right. You can talk to them about their golf game. You can talk to them about anything that's of interest to them, and they will, at the end of the night, have thought that that was the world's best conversation. It's about them, right? So you just use your mediator skills and ask those open-ended questions. You don't have to talk about ADR. That can come later. You can build up to that, right? So I'll share with you one of the things that I do. When I go to a conference and there's, hundreds of people, I cannot remember every conversation I've had. And if you and I have previously met at a conference and I don't remember you or your name or your face, I apologize. I meet thousands and thousands of people every year. But after a networking event, or rather during a networking event, one of the tricks that I use, I can handle about 10 conversations, and then I have to step out into the hallway or into the lounge. And on the back of your business card, right? So on the back of Samantha's business card, I'm going to say, Samantha, lovely lady, young children, loves to read, has wobbly bookcases. They're beautiful, but slightly dangerous. You know, need to notify Children Protective Services, perhaps. So I'm going to make a little note on the back of her business card about what we talked about, so that in subsequent conversations online, on social media, or in an email, or in person next time, I'll be able to remember what it was that she and I talked about. Then I can go back into the room, talk to another 10, 12, 15 different people, take those business cards, excuse myself out into the hallway, and make notes on the backs of those business cards. Now, when I get back to my office and I can talk about those things in instant messages or DMs or in an email or in a phone call, I look like a genius because I've been able to remember hundreds of conversations. Not true. I took notes. I can't remember hundreds of conversations. I don't know very many people who can, but that's how I get around that issue. And then you don't look silly. You've got the notes, you've got the information, and you can follow up. And it does let people know that you heard them, that you appreciated the conversation, and that you can recall it, right? So networking, the most important thing about networking is the follow-up, is the liaison for the next conversation or the next meeting or the next whatever it is. And from appearance's sake, none of you look old enough to remember what a pen pal is. So let me describe to you what pen pals for old people like me. We used to put a pen to paper and write letters, and then you'd fold the letter in half or thirds and you'd put it in an envelope and you'd address the envelope and you'd lick a stamp and send it off to somebody that sometimes you had met, sometimes not. That was a pen pal. We had letters. They went in the post and you'd wait weeks to get a response back. And these pen pal relationships are a little bit like the beginning of a networking relationship. And so if you had a pen pal, you remembered that you could natter on for page after page after page about your new bicycle, and it had sparkles on the handlebar, and it had a new banana seat, and the basket had flowers on it. You could talk about, oh, your parents were horrible and you only got a nickel for your allowance, and all of these kinds of things. The key, though, to maintaining that pen pal relationship was that very last phrase. Do you remember what it was? It was always the same, and it was, "And what's new with you?" And then you'd sign your name, fold it up, put it in the envelope, and give it to the postman. It's that very last invitation to communicate. It's that very last liaison to the next thing. It's that last open-ended question, "What's new with you?" And we want to leave every networking communication or interaction with that same kind of thought in mind. We want to create the next reason for meeting or communicating or interacting. And it could be that, let's imagine that Mick loves golf, right? And he and we spend 15, 20 minutes talking about, oh, we went to St. Andrews. And I said, oh, do you know the history about St. Andrews and how originally there were 21 holes, but just before the big grand opening, there was a massive storm and 3 of the holes fell into the ocean, just dropped right off and created a cliff. And forever, evermore, every golf course has 18 holes of golf. And he's going to say, no, you're absolutely nuts. And I'm going to say, no, I'm not. I saw it on the thing on the YouTube, or I read the article, and I will send it to you, Mick. Right? Now that is the liaison to our next thing. So when I get back to my office, I will have made that note on his business card. And when I get back, I'm going to send that email or send that video link, where I'm going to make that next communication with him, right? So there's always the offer of what's coming up next. Is it, I'm going to send you an academic study, or are we going to meet for a coffee? I've got some questions for you. Could you help me? What's the next thing? So that at your networking event, you always want to have that invitation, that liaison to the next thing, right? That's networking. And again, it can be a lot of fun. And when you also have gone to these networking events, don't forget to update your database with, again, all of those contacts, all of those people. You want to add those people to your database so that you can connect with them on social media, so that you can find them again. When you're networking, some people are okay with it, others not. But some people really like for you to take the big group photo and put it up on your social media account and say, hey, I just went to the international, whatever it was, and met fantastic people, and you should know their president, and you tag that person, and you should know this is the person who put the conference together, and you tag that person. So all of that needs to go on your social media so that you're supporting the organization and you're supporting the people that you've met. You're connecting with them, they're on your database, and you're maintaining those relationships. Again, people only hire us at the right time if they remember us. And so these constant contact points, writing, speaking, training, networking, and being on social media, keep us top of mind so that when they have a case that is appropriate for us to hear, we're the first person that they think about. And that's why we encourage these kinds of activities, writing, speaking, training, and being on social media, keeping ourselves top of mind for all of those people. When the case arises, they know we're the right person. They already like us. They already know us. They already trust us. And now we just have to remind them that they know us, that they like us, and that they trust us. And then we get those cases. So networking, it's a lot of fun if you let it be. Now, oh my gosh, I've got just moments left to tell you about social media. And social media is, again, one of those things that's kind of not an option any longer. You need to be on social media, and you need to be there, not because, of any sort of vanity position, but because our clients do something called social proofing. You've done it, I do it, we all do it. And social proofing is when you log on to Google and you say, best coffee house near me, or best hairdresser, or whatever it is, right? We all go into Google and we all search. So if you're looking for best arbitrator in Adelaide, right? Social proofing is the result of that search. And what people are looking for is that you have a website and they can click on that link, that you're on social media, that you're active on social media, that you have a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever comfort zone you exist in. They want to know that you're active there, that this isn't a hobby for you. This is your day job. You take it seriously. You do this all day, every day. You're really good at it. Other people think you're good at it, and you can prove that, that you're good at it because you're present. You're there. So having social media provides that social proof that all of our clients need. I promise you, somebody is Googling you and your name and your practice. They're looking at your bio, resume, CV. They're reading your articles. They're watching the videos. They might not study it. They might not study all of those things, but they're checking to be sure that you are who you say you are. And that's social proofing. And social media provides that. For most of us, we want to live on LinkedIn. That's where our people are, is on LinkedIn. So you don't have to do TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. You don't have to do all of them. Choose one and do it really, really well. And for most of us, that's going to be LinkedIn. The exception is going to be for those of us who handle unrepresented clients. And if you're dealing with unrepresented clients, then you might want to focus more on Facebook, Instagram. If you're dealing with young people, TikTok. So kind of pick your generation and pick the platform that they prefer. So you might hate Facebook, but if all of your people are on Facebook, you need to get really good at being on Facebook. But for most of us, it's LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a really powerful resource if you learn to use it. If you really just spend a few minutes and get LinkedIn, it can be a tremendous source of business for you. And using things like Canva, if you're not familiar, Canva, it's C-A-N-V-A, canva.com. Canva.com is, it can be a business person's best friend if that's how you want to use it. It can be like just a coloring book for grown-ups and business professionals if that's how you want to use it. Canva is the platform that allows you to build all of those really beautiful graphic posts that you see people using. You can create GIFs, you can create videos, you can create flowcharts, you can create presentations and slideshows and all kinds of really great things on Canva. There's a free version and then there's a professional version. The difference between them is about $15, not a lot. And I recommend you get the paid version. And here's why. And I don't own Canva. I don't get paid anything. If you open a Canva account, that's just good for you. It doesn't make any difference to me at all. But the paid version of Canva, here's why it's really cool. You can connect all of your social media accounts to Canva. You can go in and create all of the posts well in advance. and then use their calendaring system, their content calendar. And so let's imagine that Samantha wants to create 3 posts per week on LinkedIn. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, she wants to put something out on LinkedIn. She could sit down on a Saturday morning while her kids are eating pancakes, and she can plan out all of those posts for the entire week or the entire month. And it's preset. It is kind of a set it and forget it. And then all of those posts go out, and she's marketing and promoting her practice and her trainings and her programs while she's at lunch with somebody else. Canva is doing the work for her. And for $15 a month, this is a really, really good rate of return on that investment. You can make it pretty, you can make it interactive. Like I said, you can have video, you can have music, you can do all kinds of great things with Canva. It's not expensive, it's a lot of fun, very intuitive and easy to use. So look at canva.com and use their calendaring system so that you're consistently out there in the right way, promoting, not advertising, but promoting. And there's a big difference between those two things. So, and Samantha, then she can put in the hashtags. She can, once the post has been put up, she can go back and tag people. She can have communications, all of those kinds of things. Really, really important. So writing, speaking, training, social media, those are the basic 5 things. Lay your foundation pieces. Pick and choose one of those first 4 activities: writing, speaking, training, networking, and then always, always follow it up on social media. And with these last couple of minutes, I want to talk about some things that are not part of that group, but that are a lot of fun and that over the years I've really, really enjoyed being creative about. And you can do these too. Are you all, and I hope you are, as business people, familiar with the phrase guerrilla marketing? It's not as weird as it might sound. It is an absolute blast. J. Conrad Levinson wrote a handful of books about guerrilla marketing, and it is very appropriate for our industry, despite the name, to use these kinds of promotional tactics. Let me describe for you a couple of them that I've put together for clients. Really fun. So, or maybe I've only got time for one. I probably only have time for one. But let me tell you about a client of mine who had a family and divorce practice and wanted to concentrate on unrepresented clients. Now, how do you reach the general public? That's really, really hard, and it gets expensive. It gets really expensive really quickly. When you want to talk to everybody all the time, that's hard to do. So we sat down and we thought about how could we really create a much better qualifying system to reach out to those people. And so I thought, well, most of those people, it's probably not a whim that they're thinking about being divorced. It's probably been going around in their brain pan for a bit. And possibly they've gone to a book, well, this was back in bookstore at times when bookstores existed. They've probably gone to a bookstore and gone to the self-help section and said, and looked for a book, How Not to Kill My Partner in His Sleep, kind of a book, right? So you go to, so that was probably a good, a good barrier to entry, that was a person likely to hire us for our services. So what we did was, and I know this sounds extreme, but bear with me to the end. We had 5,000 business cards printed up. That's a big order, 5,000 business cards. And then she and her husband looked in the yellow pages and noted every bookstore on the island of Manhattan. So it's not huge, it's only 9 miles by 2 miles. They noted every single bookstore on the island. And then they started at the top and they just took their time and walked the entire island. It took them about 3 days. But what they did was put her business card for her mediation practice as a bookmark in every book in that self-help section of the bookstore. So that those people who were already thinking about, what can I do about my situation? How can I manage this? What are my options? They had as a bookmark in that book, her business card. Now, over the course of the next 90 days, her practice grew by 62%. That's a tremendous rate of return. That's guerrilla marketing. Those are the kinds of activities that you can pursue that are appropriate and that are not the more traditional marketing, that you're not buying Google ads, you're not buying Facebook ads, you're not on, you're not doing that kind of pay-per-click marketing and promotion, which, by the way, rarely work for us. If somebody says, oh, Danielle, I can increase your practice by 50% if you'll just give me $5,000 for pay-per-click ads, you need to tell them to keep walking. That just doesn't happen in our industry. Again, people have to know us, they have to like us, they have to trust us. And that only happens when we've had multiple, in marketing, they're called touches. We've had multiple touches with them to develop that kind of acceptance of us and our services, and they trust us and like us. So guerrilla marketing, it's a lot of fun. Think about it. It's something that I really enjoy doing. I like being creative and doing those kinds of things. You could do them too, but anything that really puts you in touch with your folks in a way that lets them know who you are, what you do, how you do it, and how you're available, or how they might refer someone to you. So again, if you're dealing with unrepresented clients, you might want to have a training or a conversation with the local hairdressers, right? You might want to talk to accountants. You might want to, there's a lot of different people you can talk to and write for, present to, work with, that are not necessarily the more traditional route that we take. But those are things that you have to think about for yourself and your clients and your brand, your position in the marketplace. And I've got about 5 minutes left on my time clock, but for me, you're my first meeting and I don't have another meeting for another 4 hours. So if you want to unmute yourselves and ask questions, I've got plenty of time and a full cup of coffee, and I will sit here and answer all of your personal questions or concerns or requests. You just let me know. So go ahead and unmute yourself and ask any question that you have about your personal practice, and I'll be happy to give guidance if I can.
Thanks so much, Natalie. I thought I knew a fair bit about marketing and I've been doing it for a while, but I wrote some notes. There were some really cool ideas there, so thank you.
My
People are going to ask
pleasure.
them, I saw Danielle's eyes lit up when she heard the self-help books and the guerrilla marketing. I could see your brain ticking then.
I really was. That's genius. I mean, but it's also quite a simple way of doing it, isn't it? It's just really thinking outside the box.
It is. And, Danielle, you could go to marriage and family therapists. You could talk to all of those different kinds of groups. It doesn't have to be a book format. You could log on to the chat rooms on Reddit or, Quora or any of those kinds of online platforms and be available in that way. And so you can always be there. And again, you don't want to advertise, but you always want to be able to promote and say, frequently when I'm, mediating this kind of case, one of the things I look to have happen is X, Y, and Z. Now, you've not said, hi, my name's Danielle, hire me, hire me, hire me, but you've clearly stated that this is who you are, this is what you do. And from your experience, these are some things that they could think about. Of course, they're going to say, oh, hold on, tell me more.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Very informative. Brilliant.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're welcome. Who else can I answer a question for or help? Or let's see, I've got a chat here. Oh no, we've already answered that. All right.
Oh, hi, Natalie. Anthony's my name. Thanks so much for your time. You mentioned earlier with the storytelling that you had a 7-step method. Can you let us know where to find that, or how do we get hold of that?
Sure. Are you and I connected on LinkedIn?
I'm following now.
Okay. So just send me a DM if you would. And just say, Natalie, you promised to send me this article and I will follow up with you and actually send you that article.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's storytelling is really important. It's really important. People want either to find themselves in our story. If it's a positive ending, they want to find themselves. If it, though, is a bad example, they want to be able to say, oh, wow, I thought my life was messed up. Did you read that article? Did you see that program? I feel a lot better about myself. At least that's not me, right? Sort of the Jerry Springer effect. All right. What else can I answer for you?
Rick, I saw you took your mic. put your mic on then. Did you have a question?
No? Okay. So I've got just a couple of minutes. I want to mention some things that are going to be really, really important for us as business people to pay attention to for 2022 and probably for forever, ever more. And that is the use of video and podcasting as we're promoting and educating. And those two things are never going to go away, and they really are going to become as imperative for future as it is for us at the moment to have a website. And the use of video, in particular, having a YouTube channel is going to be important for a couple of reasons. One, when we're in video like this, even though it's a unilateral experience on the end of from the viewer's perspective, it's a unilateral experience, they get to see us, hear our voice, they get the impression that they've in some way met us, right? They understand that we can put two sentences back to back in a cogent fashion. This is important. They need to have some sense of who we are, and a video provides that. You can do little short, informative, sort of TikTok size videos, the little fun size videos. You can do longer educational or informative or funny videos. You can do lots of different kinds of videos. And of course, as neutrals, we have to be careful that we don't share information about clients or cases, but that doesn't mean that we, again, can't talk about the skills that we use or how we use them or how people can better use our skill sets, right? So you can talk about lots of different things. And one of the reasons that YouTube is so powerful is that it's owned by Google. So nepotism, it works. Every time you post a video on YouTube, you get put higher and higher in the Google search results, right? Because Google wants to promote YouTube. And we all want to be on that really expensive real estate section of Google. And that is, you know, the first page above the fold situation. We want to be in those first 3 to 5 search results on the first page of search result. And having a YouTube channel helps that happen because they're owned by Google, right? So YouTube videos are great. If they're small enough, you can upload them directly to your LinkedIn account. If not, you definitely want to have them on your website, and you want to use them in your social media as a promotional tool. They can be for fun, they can be for education, they can be for lots of different things, but use of video is going to be important. And YouTube right now is in beta testing to have podcasts. And that's going to be really easy for most of us to use. At the moment, podcasting is a bit more technical than putting up a video. Podcasting requires that you have a third-party host. You have to rent space on someone else's server, and you've got to put your podcast out via application to a lot of different platforms, Apple and iTunes and, you know, Buzzsprout and all of them, all of the AI towers, etc. And so it's a bit more work. It's a bit more technical, and for most of us, that means that we have to outsource and pay a professional editor to put up a podcast. But YouTube is going to be the solution to that soon. Again, they're in beta testing, and they're going to add a podcast component to YouTube so that you can have those files. The easiest way to create those particular assets is to open Zoom like this, or you can do Restream, you can go live. There are lots of different options, but the easiest one is to open Zoom and record yourself. You know, when you're having a good hair day. So when Mick's got it just right, perfectly coiffed, and his self-tanner has been activated, and he's looking gorgeous, and he's feeling confident, he can turn on his camera and record a few minutes of informative video. Now, when he hits the stop record button, it's going to provide him the, if he's activated the live transcript, he can have closed captioning so that he can convert that into an article format. He can have the audio file, that's his podcast, and he has the video file so that he has the video component of this. So by turning the camera on and hitting live transcript, he can essentially have 3 different assets from sitting down and looking at himself in the camera for 10 minutes, right? He has the video, the podcast, and an article format. And he can put all of those up in social media. He can share all of those with that third column of his database, all of the associations and organizations. He can send out a directed email to the people most likely to hire him. He can remind in an email those people who have previously hired him that he's really good at what he does and he's gorgeous while he's doing it, and they should definitely hire him again, right? So using one of these sort of free platforms will get you a lot of leverage. And it's kind of fun. And you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't need to be scripted. And in fact, if it's too perfect, it's a little off-putting. people want us to be human, not lipstick on the teeth imperfection necessarily, but it's okay to have the little ums and the little hums and the, ooh, I don't know, let me think about that for a minute. Or it's okay to be human. You don't have to be perfect. You don't want it to look like someone from Hollywood casting put you in front of a camera. You want it to look good, but you want it to be authentically you, if that makes any kind of sense. So, well, that is my time with you. Again, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, I'm happy to stick around. Otherwise, I will say thank you so much for having joined me today, and I look forward to interacting with you all again soon.
Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today. And if people want to know more, Natalie has online courses on this topic, on how to market your practice, with a whole lot of activities and workbooks, kind of like what I do in the other area. So yeah, follow up and have a look at what Natalie has to offer, and you've got a really good taster of it today. So much good stuff already. Thank you, Natalie.
You are
Suzanne,
welcome.
did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you so much. That was excellent. I've got a couple of businesses that I'm running, and they're in different directions, and I'm just like confusing myself with how I package it all together. So that's another issue.
Okay. Well, if you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to sit and talk to you about that and see if I can't make your life a little bit easier.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just a quick one. Look, thank you very much for your time, and thank you, Sam, for working this out for us. A little bit cheeky, I suppose, but if you're an introvert, what's your Myers-Briggs?
I have no idea what my Myers-Briggs score is. I just know that when people look at me, first they think that, you know, my personality is bigger than it actually is. I'm not quite 5'2". I'm a very small person. And I think, you know, from video, you're going to assume I'm at least 5'3" or taller. It's just not my comfort zone. I can do it, and I can do it really well, but it does make my palms sweat.
I've learned an awful lot, if nothing else, those 5 dot points. And I'll drop you a note on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Mick. My pleasure. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your attention today. And I'm serious. If you have any questions, concerns, requests, send me a message, send me an email, and I'll do the best I can to be a resource for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Thanks
Thanks,
everyone.
Natalie.
Have a great
Thank you,
night.
Bye,
Sam.
Sam.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Natalie.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.